Uh, Good morning. I'm Shantha Jayarathne. I'm Dr. Shantha Jayarathne, a senior lecturer attached to the Reading University in the UK. And I have with me Professor Anil Jayantha Fernando, member of our Economic Council, and also Professor Janakumara Singha, member of the Economic Council of Jatika Jana Balawegaya, and also Mr. Sunil Handunethi, the former Member of Parliament and also former Chairman of the COP, member of our Economic Council. As my colleague, Professor Janakumara Singh said, now we are here today to express our views on the revision of the Inland Revenue Act number 24 of 2017. Now the government has done a massive tax revision. At the beginning of my presentation, I must reiterate, as my colleagues did, Jatika Jana Balawegaya is not against taxation. Taxes are important for any government to sustain. But the issue is how this tax is used by the government, for what purpose. Now I live in the UK. Every tax year, at the end of the tax year, I receive my tax file. And in that tax file, I can see how my tax is spent by the government, for which purpose, how much is spent for health, how much is spent for social welfare. My question is, as Professor Janakumara Singh also asked, can any Sri Lankan know in this country how the taxes they have paid are used, spent by the government? Now let me just tell you a few things to justify why we are in this predicament today. Now you all know by 2019, the Porto government that came into power, immediately after they took over power, they brought in a massive tax revision. Just because of that tax revision, now you see in 2019, we had a tax revenue of 1,025 billion rupees, the total collection. But immediately after this tax revision brought in, this tax revenue came down to we lost 6 billion rupees in 2020 and another 700 billion in 2021. And with all the other taxes, the total revenue, the government revenue that we lost comes to around 1,700 billion. And because of withdrawal of several taxes like pay, WHT, VAT reduction, from 1.5 million tax files, it came down to around 500,000 tax files. So you can understand, even the people who are paying taxes, the government just of course scrapped them, their files were removed, the files were withdrawn, and then the government itself reduced its revenue, annual revenue. And then you can see there were some targeted tax reliefs given to certain importers during that time. If I just quote a few examples that were in the media during that time, you can see the sugar scandal, where the government lost about 16 billion rupees just by one, revision. And then the coconut oil racket, where again, of course, about 10 billion rupees was lost by the government. Altogether, from one trader, one importer, the government lost around 26 billion. Now these are meant to satisfy, to help the people who invested in bringing in that government. Not only that, there are of course two main casino operators in this country. Their taxes were withdrawn, or they were given tax waivers like. They evaded paying taxes. One casino operator now is a politician. These were in the news media during that time. He, of course, evaded, or he got a waiver of 570 million. And there was another gentleman who has two casinos. And there again, he, of course, evaded paying around 1,400 million. So you can see how the government, of course, lost its way during the last few years. And now we are paying the price, the ordinary people. The people who are responsible for this predicament are well looked after. They are not affected, as my colleague Professor Jayarathne said. Now, the government recently appointed 37 ministers, state ministers, and I'm sure in a week or two there will be another few cabinet ministers being appointed. Altogether, I'm sure we will have about 70 ministers in this country. So how much of revenue, how much of income that we earn is spent to maintain these people? They can have various excuses. They may say that we don't take salaries. It is just a kind of, drop of the income that they get from other sources. Now, with all these revisions that are going to be effective, or that are effective now, most of them will directly and indirectly affect ordinary people. The people who are, of course, in the periphery, who are, of course, fixed income earners like, workers in the state and in the public sector. So, fine, everybody should pay taxes. We have no objection about that. But are we in a position to pay taxes? Are we economically sound? Now, you all know the inflation in the country, the food inflation, according to the World Bank report that was released a few days ago, is about 70.2. And the headline inflation in this country is 94.9. So with all that, can the people afford to pay all these taxes that are, of course, in force? Now, normally, we know that why the government is taking all these hasty decisions. Now, the government, due to all these problems, the debt portfolio that we maintain, they have gone to IMF. We have no objection about that, fine, because there was no any other alternative available. Now, the government has to fulfill the conditions that were prescribed by the IMF. Now, one important point in the term sheet is the surplus that the government should maintain in the primary account. By 2025, the government should maintain 2.3%, a surplus. So the government takes all these revisions, income generation steps and all that to fulfill these obligations unless they will not be able to honor the conditions. Now, normally, of course, as Professor Kumarasinghe and also Professor Fernando said, now when we collect taxes, we should always maintain the tax principles. Now, are we doing that? Now, Professor Janak Kumarasinghe said a very nice quote, killing the goose that lays golden eggs. That is what we are doing. Now, we are imposing taxes on SMEs and we are imposing taxes on other income sources, and we are squeezing their neck and trying to take their blood out. I'm sure the people will feel the brunt of this whole, taxes by next year, April, as Professor Kumarasinghe said. Now, we started all these with, lot of study that we have done on these, and then I must say that whether the system in place is prepared or ready to fulfill the proposals put forward by the government. Now, yesterday I spoke to some people in the tax sector and I asked them whether their systems are ready to collect all these taxes. What they said was, now when they introduced this SCL, the system had a problem because the system was ready for NBT earlier, then it was scrapped. The system was, of course, now redundant, so they changed it. Now the SCL has come. And then some new, of course, changes have come. And how are they going to do this? So they will have to face a lot of difficulties, especially the people in the tax collection department. In conclusion, I must, of course, say that this is, of course, this will definitely have a lot of impacts on the lifestyle of the ordinary people. And let me tell a few words in Sinhala. දැන් අපි ආරම්භ කළේ ඉන්න හිතෙන රටක් හදන්න. පාලකයෝ කිව්වේ ඉන්න හිතෙන රටක් හදනවායි කියලා. දැන් මං හිතන්නේ යන්න හිතෙන රටක් අවසානයේ නිර්මාණය කරලා තියෙනවා. ඉක්මනින්ම යන්න හිතෙන රටක් නිර්මාණය කරලා තියෙනවායි කියන එකයි මට පේන්න තියෙන්නේ. මොකද හේතුව මම එංගලන්තයෙන් එන්න කිට්ටු දවස්වලදී මම දැක්කා වෛද්‍යවරු පමණක් 400කට වැඩිය එහෙට ඇවිල්ලා හිටියා. ෆයිනෑන්ෂල් එක්ස්පර්ට්ස්ලා ඒ සෙක්ටර් එකේ අය, IT සෙක්ටර් එකේ අය 100 ගණනක් එංගලන්තේ රැකියාවල් වලට ඇවිල්ලා හිටියා. දැන් අවසානයේදී වෙන්නේ මේ ටැක්ස් ගෙවමින් හිටපු මිනිස්සු තවත් ස්ක්වීස් කිරීම නිසා, බෙල්ල හිර කිරීම නිසා ඔවුන් මේ ඉන්න හිතෙනවයි කියපු රටින් පලායන තත්ත්වයට පත් වෙලා තියෙනවා. එමනම් මම හිතන්නේ මේවා කරපු පාලකයින්ම නැවත රටේ මිනිස්සුන්ට කියනවා නම් එන්න අපි එක්ක හිටගන්න, අපි එක්ක නැවත එක් වෙන්න, ඊට වැඩිය තවත් විහිළුවක් නැහැ. So, in conclusion, I would say the people will have to think again how they should, of course, get rid of this and see that they establish a system that is accountable to the people, that ensures the industry and also the ordinary masses of the country. Thank you very much.